Hi everyone, welcome back, thanks for joining us today. We've got another brand new story to share with you today, so let's begin. My name is Rachel, and I wasn't supposed to see the invitation. It wasn't mailed to me or handed over at dinner with an awkward smile. There was no conversation, no hesitation, not even a passive-aggressive oversight. I found out the way people find out about parties they were never meant to attend, scrolling through social media, too late to pretend it didn't hurt. It was a photo, a white satin backdrop, a gold-embossed card balanced on soft folds of fabric, peonies, rose gold accents. The caption read, "The countdown begins. Can't wait to celebrate with all my loved ones." All her loved ones, but not me. For a full minute, I stared at the screen, trying to make the words rearrange themselves. I told myself, maybe she just hadn't sent mine yet, maybe there was a delay, maybe, God, I don't know, maybe she wanted to surprise me in person, though that had never been her style. The truth didn't land like a slap, it settled like weight, heavy, familiar. Over the last 6 months, I had wired nearly $8,000 to cover deposits, the venue, the caterer, half the dress. I never asked for credit, she never offered it. And still, in some foolish corner of me, I thought maybe, just maybe, that gesture bought me a seat at the table. I tapped out a message, simple and soft, the kind you send when you're not ready for a real answer. "Hey, just saw your post. I never got my invite. Did it get lost in the mail?" Then I waited. I kept waiting through lunch, through a rush job at the shop, through the hour I spent replacing a Bentley's rear axle. Around sunset, I checked again, nothing. It wasn't until 10:30 p.m. that my phone buzzed. "Hey, I meant to talk to you about this. It's been really hard narrowing the guest list. We're going for a specific vibe with the event, you know, curated, nothing personal. I know you'll be happy for me from afar. Love you." Happy for her from afar. I read the message 3 times, then once more just to be sure I wasn't misreading what I already knew. She hadn't forgotten, she had excluded me. I wasn't part of her vibe. I was the oil-stained sister with rough hands and worn jeans. I didn't wear soft makeup or polished heels. I didn't sip wine and say, at charcuterie boards. I ran a garage, my own. I made good money, the honest kind, but I didn't look the part. She never said it aloud, but I'd seen it in the way she wrinkled her nose when I showed up straight from work. In the way she once introduced me at a family brunch, "That's my sister, Rachel, she does car stuff." Car stuff. That night, I didn't sleep, not out of anger, not even sadness, it was something quieter. Like standing outside a room you helped build, hearing the party through the walls, and knowing for the first time they locked the door on purpose. I wish I could say it was the first time, but exclusion in my family didn't happen with shouting or slammed doors. It was quieter than that, refined, even. It came in soft rewrites, holiday photos where I was always at the edge of the frame, group chats where plans were made and I was added after, birthdays where I was thanked for the gift but not for showing up. The wedding was just the first time they made it official. When we were kids, my mom used to say I was practical, not creative like Vanessa, not graceful, but dependable. That was her word, reliable. At the time, I thought it was a compliment. I didn't realize it was the start of a life where I'd be leaned on but rarely seen. Vanessa was the kind of child who needed the center of the room. She danced in talent shows, wore headbands with rhinestones, and cried when her shoelaces didn't match. I was the one who fixed her bike tires, set up her science fair poster, reheated her leftovers. By high school, I had stopped asking my mom if she liked my outfits. She always looked disappointed anyway. "You don't want to try something softer? You're a girl, Rachel." I wore steel-toed boots to prom, not because I wanted to, but because I worked a shift that morning and had blisters. After Dad died, I dropped out of college and moved back home to help run the garage. Mom didn't fight me on it, she just told me I was doing what you're good at. Vanessa cried at the funeral, then posted a photo the next day with the caption, "My first hero, rest well, Daddy." She spelled hero with an E missing, but it was me who sat through the probate paperwork, me who cleaned out the office, me who negotiated with 3 angry customers the week after we buried him. No one asked if I was okay. Still, I paid for Vanessa's last semester of college when her loans didn't come through, paid again when she moved to New York and needed a security deposit. When she came home with a failed startup and a diamond ring, I was the one who told Mom not to say anything judgmental. So when she sent that message, "You don't really fit the vibe," I didn't just hear my sister's voice, I heard a chorus. My mother, adjusting her scarf at church, whispering, "Try to look like you belong." My aunt, laughing when I parked my truck in front of the baby shower venue, "Couldn't you have borrowed something less, Rachel?" I kept waiting for someone, anyone, to say something. "You deserve to be there, this isn't right, you matter." Instead, I got silence, polite, curated silence. That's when I realized I wasn't invited because I didn't belong in the family they wanted to show off. Not now, maybe not ever. And still, my name was on the checks. The next morning, I opened my banking app. There were 3 pending transfers scheduled for Friday. The final payment for the florist, the remaining balance for the venue, and the cake. $120 for something 5-tiered in lavender that I hadn't even been shown a photo of. I hovered over the transactions, thumb resting on the cancel button. Then I minimized the screen, closed my phone, sat there. Outside my window, the sun was low and peach-colored over the back of the garage. The air smelled like warm rubber and coffee grounds. In the corner of the yard, under a tarp, was the old Mustang GT my dad and I used to work on. He bought it for $800 and called it a project, not a problem. I hadn't touched it in over a year. That afternoon, I pulled off the tarp and let the sun hit the faded red paint. It was dusty, the leather cracked, the engine grumbled like it didn't quite forgive me for the neglect. I wiped down the hood anyway, slow and steady, until I could see my own reflection in the swirl of metal and memory. I wasn't angry, not in the way people expect. I didn't fantasize about showing up in a gown and causing a scene. I didn't write long texts or cry in the shower. I just didn't want to help anymore. That realization came so softly, it startled me, like when you finally admit you're tired, not because someone said so, but because your body stopped pretending otherwise. Still, part of me hesitated. That night, I stood in the kitchen, half lit by the glow from the fridge, and stared at the wedding file Vanessa had emailed me months earlier. Folder labeled Event Timeline, Don't Delete. Inside was everything. Vendor contacts, payment due dates, guest list spreadsheets. My initials, RW, next to almost every check-marked item, except one tab labeled Immediate Family Seating. I clicked. Read down the rows. Mom, Uncle Stephen, Aunt Clara, Vanessa's fiancé's parents, a couple cousins, bridesmaids. No Rachel, not forgotten, just not listed. I didn't cancel the transfers that night. I wanted to. I told myself I should, but I didn't. Instead, I opened a drawer in the hallway and pulled out the cassette player my dad left me. He recorded messages sometimes, grocery lists, reminders, little notes in his gravelly voice. I pressed play and let his voice fill the empty house. If they can't see how much you do, Rach, that's not your failure, that's their blindness. I sat on the floor and let that sentence loop through me like warm static. By morning, I opened the banking app again. This time, my hand didn't shake. One by one, I hit cancel. Then I shut off my phone and went back outside to finish polishing the Mustang. No texts, no explanations, no announcement, just silence, but this time, it was mine. I didn't mark the date on my calendar, didn't circle it in red or block off my schedule, but I knew my body remembered. Somewhere between the way the light hit the floor that morning and how quiet the street felt, I knew it was wedding day. I got up early, like always, brewed the same bitter coffee, pulled on the same coveralls. Went into the garage and replaced the brake pads on a Porsche someone had dropped off the night before. At 10:45 a.m., my phone buzzed, not a call, just a text from a friend who worked part-time for a local events company. 3 words. They didn't pay. I didn't ask who, I didn't need to. By 11:20 a.m., I was sitting in my truck, 2 blocks from the venue, not close enough to be seen, just enough to watch the corners of the event unfold like a play no one rehearsed. The building was a repurposed mansion, all white columns and glass-paneled doors, draped in seasonal florals. A place made for appearances, Vanessa's kind of place. Cars pulled up, rented black sedans, pastel SUVs, guests stepped out in cocktail dresses, matching ties, heels catching in the gravel. They looked around, some checked their phones, others adjusted boutonnieres, but the doors didn't open. By 11:20, someone knocked, then again, louder. A wedding planner paced outside with a clipboard and increasingly anxious gestures. A man in a vest tried the knob, locked. At 11:27 a.m., the venue manager stepped outside, his hands moved flat and wide, the universal sign for, "We're done here." From where I sat, I couldn't hear the words, but I could see the faces. Vanessa's fiancé looked confused, the planner was now on the phone, pacing in circles. A bridesmaid kicked off her heels and sat on the curb. Then came my mother, emerging from a black car in navy silk, holding her purse like it could fix things. She scanned the scene, lips pressed thin. And finally, Vanessa, she wore ivory, something sleek and modern with pearl buttons down the back. Her hair was pinned into place, like she had planned it that way for years, and maybe she had. But even from 2 blocks away, I could see the look on her face when someone whispered in her ear, confusion, then disbelief, then something else. Panic. She turned around once, searching the crowd, like maybe someone had the answer, like maybe someone would fix it, the way I always had. But this time, no one moved. I sat there, engine off, radio humming low, some old folk station playing a slow, mournful guitar. The cassette from my dad was in the glove box, but I didn't press play, I didn't need to. The silence inside me was steady now, no bitterness, no vengeance, just the knowledge that I was no longer the safety net. At 11:42 a.m., I turned the key, pulled away from the curb, and left them standing there, dressed for a celebration that couldn't start, waiting for help that wasn't coming. And still, they hadn't noticed who was missing. By the time I got back to the shop, my phone had 9 missed calls, 4 from Vanessa, 3 from Mom, 2 from numbers I didn't recognize, probably bridesmaids or vendors. I didn't pick up, I didn't need to hear what I already knew. Somewhere between the venue's locked doors and the panicked voices, it had dawned on them that the person they erased was also the one holding the foundation together. At 12:17 p.m., the texts started. Vanessa. Please call me, it's an emergency. Mom. Rachel, this isn't funny. Vanessa. You can't just bail last minute, the cake is already made, the flowers are on their way. Mom. You promised, we all counted on you. Not a single one said sorry, not one. They weren't upset because I'd been hurt, they were upset because they had been embarrassed. At 12:44 p.m., Vanessa finally wrote, "You let me fail." I stared at the message, let it sit, then I typed back, "No, you failed when you decided I didn't belong in your day." She called immediately, I let it ring twice before answering. "What the hell is wrong with you?" She snapped. "Nothing," I said quietly, "I just stopped being useful." She inhaled sharply, "You're being vindictive, that's not who you are." "No," I agreed, "it's who I became after realizing I was financing a day I wasn't welcome in." There was a pause, just long enough for something real to show through. Then she said, "This was never about you, it's about aesthetic, it's about presentation, You know how these things work. I almost laughed. You mean it's about how things look, not how they are? No, I mean, she started, but her voice caught. I waited, then I heard it, that shift, that edge of desperation people reach when they realize the version of you they crafted, the quiet one, the convenient one, has stopped playing along. Look, she said, softer now, if I invite you now, will you help? I didn't respond right away. Instead, I walked to the drawer in my desk, took out the original wedding invitation I'd printed from her post. It was beautiful, ornate lettering, dusty rose trim, gold foil accents. There was no Rachel anywhere on it. I held the phone close and said, "You built a day without me, you can pay for it without me, too." Then I hung up. Later that evening, I posted a single photo, no caption, just a scan of the vendor invoice log with my initials circled in red next to each paid deposit, and a copy of the guest list where my name never appeared. I didn't check the comments, I didn't reply to the messages that came flooding in. But I knew people saw it. The bridesmaid who had smiled at me, fake wide, last Thanksgiving, the cousin who once joked that I smelled like a transmission, the uncle who hadn't asked how I was doing since the funeral. They all saw it, and for once, they couldn't unsee it. Not because I said anything loud, but because I stopped pretending with them the same way they'd stopped pretending I mattered. It's been a year, no one ever said the word sorry, not my mother, not Vanessa, not anyone who stood on that front lawn in their pastel suits and heels, looking for someone to blame. But no one asked me for money again, either. That part was new. For the first few weeks, there were attempts, soft ones, awkward. A birthday card from mom that read, "Family is about forgiveness, come by sometime." A forwarded article from Vanessa titled, "How Sisters Heal." I didn't respond. I didn't block them either, just let the silence stay. It knew what to do. I kept working. The shop did well, better than before, actually. I hired 2 new techs, both young women who reminded me of myself before I learned to flinch when someone used the word presentation. We fixed things, fenders, engines, busted radiators. I stopped trying to fix the past. One afternoon in November, I got a package, no return label, inside, a folded cream envelope with a gold crest, the same wedding invitation, still pristine. But this one had something handwritten on the back, my name, just my name, no message, no apology, no signature. I stared at it for a long time before sliding it into the bottom drawer of my desk. Then I reached for the photo of my father, the one where we're both covered in grease, laughing at something I can't remember. I taped it to the inside lid of the toolbox I use every morning. Next to it, I pinned the printed guest list, the version without me. That's my shrine now, not to bitterness, not to pain, to memory, to truth. People ask sometimes, mostly customers who've been coming for years, why I don't go to family holidays anymore, why I don't post pictures of gatherings or tag anyone in Thanksgiving toasts. I just say, they wanted a version of me that looked better on paper. Then I smile, offer them their keys, and move on. I don't rehearse arguments in the shower anymore. I don't linger in the what-ifs. I know what I was to them. A backbone when convenient, a background when inconvenient. And now, I am neither. I am a name they once used, a presence they once omitted, a silence that now, finally, speaks louder than their stories. I didn't leave the family, they left me off the list. I just made it official. And no, I don't want their apology, I just wanted the lie to die.